Lawmakers put together a framework for the national budget last night. What could be included as a priority in the version from the Senate?
And a new resolution would allow judges in Texas to deny bail in some cases, what a judge must determine before they could revoke bail under this proposal.
And it's just above freezing right now in Austin. I am expecting some light freeze and drizzle to begin soon. We'll talk about it here in First Warning Weather.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Gray skies this afternoon over downtown Austin, and we are not expecting the sun to peek out again until Sunday at the earliest. So I guess get used to it. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on this chilly day. I'm Avery Travis.
And I'm Will Dupree. We're going to check in now with meteorologist Tommy House with a look at the current temperatures out there. Still cold, Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, it's, freezing or just above it, but it feels like it's freezing because of the wind chill that we have. 34 in downtown Austin, 35 Williamson County, 38 in Fayette County, that's LaGrange, and then west of I-35, still some 20s out and about, 29 in Lampasas, 30 in Burnett, 32 in Llano County, just bumped up to 33 in Marble Falls. In Blanco County, still in the upper 20s as well. Compared to where we were yesterday, so Thursday at noon, we're about 4 degrees warmer in Austin, 6 degrees warmer in Bastrop, 3 degrees warmer out in Burnett toward the hill country there. You see cloudy skies on the horizon, winds out of the north-northeast, so it feels like 27. That wind chill value has actually dropped since the start of our show. All right, clouds and radar, not too much to talk about right now, looking at the KXAN viewing area, but big picture to our south and west, we're going to begin to see a little bit of some showers. It's actually a lightning strike there down toward the valley. That's going to move up in forms of light freezing drizzle through the late afternoon, evening, and overnight hours. So look at the rain chances, 10% through the afternoon, picking up to around 20 to 30% through the evening. Eventually 40 to 50% by tomorrow morning. And we'll get to that in just a second. So cloudy and cold today. We'll dive into how much freeze and rain is on the way. We're thinking a few hundredths of an inch, but more specifically, some places could squeeze out closer to a tenth of an inch of ice accumulation. Beyond this weekend, though, 70s returning. Decent ridging builds back in, and we'll end February and kick off March on the warm side. We'll show you just how warm these temperatures will get coming up in just a bit. Will, Avery?
All right, thanks so much, Tommy. A live look right now from northwest Austin. This is on Highway 183 near FM 620. This is all courtesy of a TxDOT camera there. The roads are clear right now. Traffic is moving along very smoothly at this point, but we want to tell you tonight going into tomorrow, drivers may need to watch out for a risk of running into some icy spots here and there.
Particularly those overpasses and bridges you're seeing, any really elevated surface could be at risk of black ice. That is when a thin layer of ice forms, making it really difficult to see the ice that's on the road. Already, crews have pre-treated many roads in our area to prepare. They say the icing risk is highest along and west of I-35.
The Texas Division of Emergency Management says it's ready to respond to any trouble spots across the state. It's also calling on people out there, if they hop in their car, to be extra careful if they do have to be on the roads.
We want folks to be aware of that and take precautions now for that winter precipitation that we might see at the end of this week moving into the weekend.
You can always keep up with the latest forecast on air and online at KXAN.com. Our team will also have an hour-by-hour forecast to give you the latest information.
The number of measles cases in Texas keeps rising. Today, the Texas Department of State Health Services says it's confirmed 90 cases so far. 5 cases involve people who are vaccinated, while all of the others are either people who are unvaccinated or have no known vaccination status. Right now on our website, KXAN.com, you can see a map tracking the number of these cases and where they're being reported. As we said, that's on our website now. In recent weeks, we've told you about Texas Governor Greg Abbott traveling to Washington, D.C. to speak with leaders and lawmakers about reimbursing the state for its border protection efforts and immigration efforts. There are reports that he is back in D.C. that we are working to confirm today.
But back here closer to home this morning, several advocacy groups and grassroots organizations took to the steps of the state capitol to protest against those immigration policies set in place by the state. They held a news conference and a rally starting at 11 this morning, speaking out against the policies targeting multiple groups' rights. Those include LGBTQ+ rights, labor and voting rights, as well as reproductive rights. They also spoke out against anti-immigration policies and Operation Lone Star. That's the $11 billion program created by Governor Abbott to enhance security along the U.S. southern border.
Last month, President Trump signed 10 executive immigration orders that are similar to the policies of Operation Lone Star. He's also called on states to be involved in some of these policies. Activists say the orders will hurt the state's economy that relies on immigrants.
Texas thrives because of immigrants. They are the backbone of our industries, building our homes, harvesting our crops, caring for our families, and fueling the innovation that keeps our state globally competitive.
Governor Abbott has said that border security efforts protect Texans. He has, as we said, been meeting with members of Congress to reimburse that $11 billion Will mentioned that the state has spent to secure the border. He met with the president earlier this year to discuss border security. Senate Republicans pushed through their massive budget bill early this morning following a marathon 10-hour vote session overnight. But it is no guarantee their version will pass Congress or if the president will ultimately give his approval.
No Democrats voted for the measure, which was largely a framework of President Trump's key policy issues. The Senate approved the $340 billion budget framework at about 4:45 this morning. Overnight, lawmakers opened up what's become known as a vote-a-rama. It's a tedious part of the budgeting process where senators vote on any number of amendments that are proposed as add-ons to the overall bill. The final vote was 52 to 48. Republicans passed that legislation, which contains hundreds of millions of dollars for things like defense and border security. It also asks committees to find cuts and reforms that would offset some of that spending.
While Democrats had no hope of blocking the bill, they did force Republicans to vote publicly against several amendments, including one to block tax breaks for billionaires. Senate Republicans touted the vote, though, as a first step towards enacting the president's agenda.
The federal government is too big. It spends too much. Republicans will end this wasteful Washington spending. We will get America back on track.
Under Donald Trump's Republican Party, billionaires win and American families lose. Billionaires win and American families lose. That's it. That's the Republican agenda.
While the Senate passed its version, the House is working on a separate bill, one that President Trump said he prefers. Both chambers would need to pass the same resolution for committees to begin work crafting the actual bills for the Senate and House to pass. Back here in Texas, a resolution that would allow judges to deny bail to people accused of violent crimes is now headed to the House. That's after senators passed it yesterday. It calls for amending the Texas Constitution to allow denying bail to people accused of crimes like murder, armed robbery, and aggravated sexual assault. The senator leading this effort says there are safeguards to make sure the focus is on dangerous offenders.
For bail to be denied for one of these offenses, a judge or magistrate must first determine by clear and convincing evidence that the denial of bail is necessary to ensure either the person's appearance in court or the safety of the community, law enforcement, or the victim of the alleged offense.
The resolution is part of a package of legislation aimed at bail reform, which Governor Greg Abbott, you'll remember, listed as a priority this session. This weekend, the National Museum of the Pacific War will be honoring soldiers who fought at Iwo Jima during World War II. Today, they held a plaque dedication to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of the war. This is all happening in Fredericksburg. The ceremony will feature some veterans and an actor who is known for his work in HBO's miniseries, The Pacific. There will also be a panel for young people discussing military service, and that'll be tonight at 6:30. There will also be a screening of Sands of Iwo Jima starting at 7:15. It does not end today. Tomorrow, there will also be some guest speakers at Rockbox Theater. They're going to talk about the history and the impact of Iwo Jima. That'll run from 1 in the afternoon until 4:30. And then on Sunday at 2 p.m., there's going to be a battle reenactment. This will take place at the Pacific Combat Zone on East Austin Street in Fredericksburg. So some really cool events to mark that 80th anniversary and to really honor some of the veterans. They do incredible work at that museum out there in the Hill Country. So if you are looking for a way to spend your weekend, you can head out there and learn a little bit of history, maybe take the family, take some kids. Could be really great.
All right, right now temperatures are nice and chilly and cloudy. Let me take you to Bee Cave, courtesy of Covert Bee Cave Auto Mall. And on this Friday, it's been the name of the game all throughout the work week. Cold, cloudy, but I'm expecting some wintry weather to build in late tonight through tomorrow morning. Next 24 hours from the 30s, 35 back down to maybe the upper 20s around 2, 3 a.m. and then back up above freezing by around 7, 8, 9 o'clock into your Saturday morning with highs by Saturday afternoon near 40. Here's how it looks today. Winds will be out of the northeast, 35 in Austin for a high, 34 in Williamson County. 33 in Lampasas County, then east of I-35 will stay in the low to mid-30s. High-resolution model keeps us dry through around 4 or 5 o'clock. A little bit of some wintry mix and or a light freezing drizzle will begin to build in from our southwest and try to move north and east. Now, the big question is how much of this actually falls, one, to the surface, but two, accumulates. Playing this through the overnight hours into Saturday morning. We'll start off tomorrow with some slick roadways and then turn into a cold rain by the afternoon. Notice those temperatures now well above freezing towards Saturday evening into Sunday. Ice forecast, a few hundredths of an inch and isolated up to a tenth of an inch when it's all said and done for most of our KXAN viewing area. And now compared to, let's say, a tenth of an inch, how about a quarter of an inch, half an inch, we are far away from any sort of severe outages, power outages, or damage. I'm just anticipating light, minor disruptions to your day-to-day life tonight through tomorrow morning. So just take it a little bit easy on the bridges. But that's pretty much it. Not anticipating any sort of widespread power outages. This turns to a cold rain, 38 by the afternoon hours tomorrow. By Sunday, 59. We'll start off with some clouds, could decrease to some sunshine by Sunday afternoon into the evening hours. And then we're dry. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday into next week. Not expecting any sort of rain for the work week to close out the month. Surface low moves to the east and then notice by Sunday afternoon to the evening. Sunny skies. Monday and Tuesday, same story. And then Wednesday into Thursday could be seeing some sort of clouds and or precipitation for portions of Texas, but this ridging is going to be pretty good, which means high pressure moves from west to east over the Four Corners, and see that big dip right there in the jet stream. So colder air is going to stay to the eastern seaboard of the country, and we're going to be most likely just dealing with warmer weather for the time being beyond this weekend. So look at the reds and yellows and oranges. That represents the warmth. Little taste of spring here. Do I expect colder weather to eventually return maybe mid-March? Not a hard freeze, but it's not out of the ordinary to see a few lows in the 30s and 40s again. But for the time being, Monday through next Thursday, highs in the 70s.
San Marcos 911, do you need police, fire, EMS?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you tell me the address of your emergency?
It's San Marcos High School, 2601 Rattler Road.
I'm actually calling because my daughter, I just got home, and she told me that on the bus today, somebody showed her a Snapchat, and it had a threat to Hopewell Middle School about a shooting.
So since the start of the school year, school districts all across Central Texas have seen an uptick in threats toward our schools.
And tell me exactly what happened.
I was walking in the hallway to go to the bathroom, and I heard, see a guy walking, and he has a gun in his hand.
An alarming number of cases involving threats of gun violence in or against schools have been filed in our office.
Fake threats have real consequences.
If you make a threat against a school, you will be found, you will be arrested, and you will be held accountable.
And it needs to stop.
Are you still there? Still there?
September 2024, a month-long snapshot at the height of these reports. Police and school records we obtained show at least 56 threats across 17 Central Texas school districts and charters. Data from Hayes, Williamson, and Caldwell counties show students arrested and charged for terroristic threats and making false reports, some as young as 11. In Lockhart, we learned a 12-year-old girl was arrested after telling her mother she thought she saw a gun in her classmate's book bag.
This was a basketball, peewee, another basketball, home run derby.
Rosemary Moreno displays her daughter's awards and trophies with pride. Moreno says her girl has always been a good kid.
Never, ever we've never been through any kind of trouble with her.
That is until this school year. On September 25th, Moreno got a text from her daughter.
I was home, and then she texted me, saying that there was an active shooter, and that's when I asked her, do you know the difference between an actual active shooter and somebody that might just have a gun?
Moreno said within minutes she was at Lockhart Junior High School.
We go and I talked to the front office and asked if something was going on, and they were unaware of it. And as soon as she came out, we were out there waiting for her. She just started crying.
Police records Moreno provided show her daughter said she was in her third period class when she went to the restroom and saw the handle of a gun sticking out of another student's backpack. She told police she then went to lunch and texted her mother, but did not tell any teachers or staff about what she saw.
To her, it scared her enough to text me about it.
Police records show the campus was placed on what's called a hold, where staff clears the hallways and students are required to stay in their classrooms while police investigate. But police said when school officials went over footage of the hallway during third period, her daughter was not seen leaving the classroom.
The police officer called us in his office and told us that they reviewed the video and never saw her go into the restroom, so they were going to charge her with false accusations of a threat to the school. I didn't know what to think. I was crying. She was crying. He was like, we're going to have to take her in. And I was like, what do you mean take her in? And she's only 12. She's 12. She's never made anything up like this before in her life.
In a letter to parents, district officials said they found no credible evidence to support the student's claims and said it was seeking charges against the student after finding substantial evidence of falsified claims. Records show Moreno's daughter was charged with a Class A misdemeanor for false alarm and report. She was also suspended from school for 3 weeks, and when she came back from suspension, she had to go to the district's alternative school.
And I told her, I was like, look, if you didn't see something, or maybe a kid told you something, I need you to just be honest with me. Just tell me, because whatever it was, I will back you up and I will be there for you. She's like, I swear to you. She was like, I saw a kid and it looked like a gun. Her story never changed. Not one time has it changed. And to this day, she'll tell you the same story.
We want the community to know that it is extremely important to, when you see something, to say something.
Less than a week after her arrest, in a school safety presentation, Lockhart ISD staff said this about the trend of school threats at their campuses.
A child or an adult would never be in trouble for reporting something, even if it turned out not to be true. There are situations, unfortunately, to where if we get an alert and it's found that it wasn't an accurate report, that things weren't lining up, that's where there may be an issue.
You just think she might have been confused?
Yes. The sad thing is, you teach them to speak up. If you see something, you say something, and that's what she did. She spoke up. She might not have told somebody right then and there at the school, but she told the person that she trusted the most, and that was me.
The school district, police department, and the district attorney's office all declined to interview with our team. Moreno tells us the district attorney dropped the charges against her daughter last week during our investigation months after the arrest. In a statement, the agency that made the arrest, the Lockhart Police Department, said it takes all reports of guns at school seriously. He added, when a call of this nature is received, valuable police resources are utilized. The district attorney's office, in deciding whether to charge a minor, tells us it considers if the offense was committed, the age and maturity of the child, the seriousness of the threat, and what discipline the school can administer in deciding whether to charge a minor student. He added, the juvenile justice system is not meant nor equipped to be a substitute for parental responsibility. However, where that is lacking, we will not hesitate to take whatever steps we feel are necessary to protect the schools and the community. Kelly Wiley, KXAN Investigates.
Kelly, thank you so much for that reporting. Their team spoke with several Texas school districts about threats and warnings that those districts experienced. You can see the responses now in this story in the investigative section of KXAN.com.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Thanks for staying with us here on KXAN News at Noon. The time is 12:31, and we want to show you a live look from out there in Bee Cave, a cloudy view much like all of Central Texas at this point, Avery.
Yeah, we're just getting used to it. We're living in it, and Tommy tells us it's not really going anywhere for the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Sunday afternoon we could get a little bit of clearing, but it's cold and cloudy. Temperatures right now 34 in Austin, 36 in Bastrop, 40 down in Flatonia, and then west of I-35, still a lot of us are at or slightly below freezing in the upper 20s to low 30s. 30 in Lampasas and Mason County, 35 in Williamson County, San Marcos, 35 degrees. Blanco clocking in at 30. Cloud cover sticking around. We are going to notice a few different things changing in our forecast in the coming few hours or so. A little bit of precipitation is going to form and move up to the north and east, most likely in a form of some sort of light to moderate wintry mix or freezing drizzle. And I expect that to pick up in terms of precipitation chances through the overnight hours into your Saturday morning. So what does this mean for us on the evening commute today and tonight? I mean, most of us will be dry, but if that freezing drizzle does fall, it could be impacting the roadways. I also do want to point out before we get more into that cold and freezing mix and freezing drizzle, we are 100 days away today from the start of hurricane season. I feel like it was just like that a few months ago when I started here talking about hurricanes, and now 100 days from now, we're going to start focusing on that. Until then, it's going to be winter weather here in Central Texas, cloudy and cold today. And then once those freeze and drizzle odds begin to pick up through the overnight hours, again, make sure you download our KXAN First Warning Weather app, and then Rich will be in tomorrow morning for the latest updates on how much that is happening through the morning tomorrow. Also want to point out 70s returning next week, a huge pattern change here in Texas to close out February and to kick off March, and we'll talk about that in the next few minutes.
Tommy, thanks so much. We want to show you a live look right now in Northwest Austin from one of our TxDOT cameras. This is on Highway 183 near FM 620. Roads are clear right now. Traffic is moving along smoothly. Actually, not too many cars out there at this point. But again, as Tommy mentioned, tonight going into tomorrow, drivers do need to watch out for the risk of running into some icy spots. TxDOT is treating the roads, though, with brine ahead of any possible wintry mix. The agency says it's a solution of salt water that affects the freezing temperature of water, but can also do a number on your car. KXAN's traffic anchor Erica Brennis has this story on our website, KXAN.com, that explains why it's probably a good idea to head for the car wash once the winter weather has passed.
President Donald Trump is marking 1 month back in the Oval Office. He and his team are promising more action on immigration, along with cost cutting and government reform.
Democrats, though, say they will ramp up their efforts to push back against the Trump administration. Washington correspondent Hannah Brandt breaks down what to expect.
It's been a fast-paced first few weeks, and President Trump says there's still a lot left on his agenda.
We've made a lot of progress.
President Donald Trump says he's proud of his first month back on the job, which has included dozens of executive orders, sweeping tariffs, and major changes to federal agencies.
The best 4 weeks that anybody's ever had is an opening, so now a few hundred more weeks like this and we're going to be in great shape.
The Trump administration is particularly proud of the immigration crackdown. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says mass deportations and boosted border security measures are working.
The criminals are going home. The border is sealed shut. America is safe, sovereign, proud, and free.
Government cost cutting is also a top priority, with large-scale firings of federal workers and spending shakeups led by Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency. Literal chainsaw in hand.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
Musk says there are more cuts to come, arguing the federal government is full of fraud and waste.
It's pretty wild. Like you just push on things a little bit and you save billions of dollars.
Democrats say the whirlwind of action is a strategy
to put us in a state of constant chaos for the purpose of
confusing the American people.
Senator Alex Padilla says President Trump is trying to distract from the harmful impacts of his policies. And Senator Peter Welch argues he's illegally overstepping his authority.
Donald Trump has been on a lawless rampage.
Democratic lawmakers say they are fighting back against the Trump administration policies that they see as dangerous. But with Republicans in control of Congress, their power is limited. In Washington, I'm Hannah Brand.
Hannah, thank you. Thousands of IRS workers across the country are losing their jobs.
KXAN Sarah Alsha found out this is going to impact Central Texas.
In the middle of tax season, thousands of IRS workers fired. Austin is home to one of the few IRS centers in the country. So were any local employees let go? I took that question to local Congressman Lloyd Doggett.
Do you know if any local IRS workers were impacted here in Austin?
Yes, we have about 6,000 IRS employees in the greater Austin area, and hundreds of them are likely to lose their job.
Doggett brought this email with him from an anonymous IRS employee in Austin titled, quote, important update for managers of probationary employees.
Basically what it says is they wanted to fire everyone today, but because of some problems they have within IRS already, they couldn't, but people will hear tomorrow that they're fired and not to come back to work. Everyone's official termination date will be Friday, February 21st.
The layoffs affect probationary employees with roughly 1 year or less at the agency and largely include workers in compliance departments.
We could have delays in refunds. We'll see a reduction in enforcement, so that some people who want to evade their taxes are able to do that.
Kentucky Congressman James Comer say Democrats have used the IRS to target conservatives. These layoffs are part of a wider initiative of the Trump administration to shrink the size of the federal workforce through the Department of Government Efficiency.
We've never seen a more weaponized federal government.
Speaking to conservatives at CPAC, Elon Musk was asked about the IRS cuts specifically.
They're talking about shutting down the IRS.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz even responded to Musk earlier this month on X, calling to abolish the IRS. It's unclear how these IRS cuts may affect tax collection services this year.
I know they're keeping some people on for the returns that people get, the refunds, but whether that can all be handled smoothly with such a reduced workforce is another concern that I have.
Doggett worries about possibly more layoffs in the future.
The people that they've kept on temporarily through tax season, the feeling is that when tax season is over in the spring, they'll be gone too.
Sarah Alsha, KXAN News.
Sarah, thank you. The IRS has roughly 90,000 employees across the country, according to the latest agency data. KXAN reached out to multiple agencies about these layoffs, including the IRS and the National Treasury Employees Union. We've not heard back from them yet.
Looking more into these firings and layoffs, at this time, there is still not an exact tally. However, the firings have reportedly affected at least 200,000 federal workers. Many are probationary who have been on the job less than a year. The White House says that about 75,000 federal workers accepted buyouts. The deferred resignation offers compensation through September. The president's administration says it's working to cut up to 10% of the federal workforce to help reduce the government's deficit. However, the Associated Press reports that even if the government reaches that goal, it would still run a deficit of more than $1 trillion. That's because around $270 billion are spent every year for civilian employees.
The Trump administration's change in funding priorities could put Austin's Cap and Stitch project in jeopardy. We're talking about the plan to build deck plazas and green spaces over I-35 near downtown and UT. When TxDOT lowers and reconstructs the freeway, this would cost hundreds of millions of dollars. The city of Austin thought it had already secured a $100 million federal grant for the project, but the Austin transportation staff says the grant could be on shaky ground.
I, too, am not an alarmist, but I would not be doing my job if I did not make it very clear that this is a very different time in terms of funding availability for projects. Those types of large grants may be out of reach for us for some time.
Late last year, the Austin City Council was able to push a vote that committed to building the cap and stitch projects. But next month, the council would need to decide if they want to move forward with that funding and let TxDOT know for its planning purposes. The I-35 project isn't the only transportation grant in question. Others include funding for the Barton Springs Road Bridge replacement, the Safer Streets for All project, and there's also $300 million for the airport expansion project. The city says it got $1.2 billion in grants over the last 4 years.
Work is still happening to bring a light rail system to Austin. Some city council members got an update yesterday on Project Connect.
We have been accepted into and are currently within a project phase called Project Development, which includes the preliminary design and this environmental review that we're out talking to our community about today and getting feedback on both of those elements.
Next year, the city will move to the engineering and permitting phase that will last roughly 2 years. Then starting in 2027, the Austin Transit Partnership expects to begin the construction and testing phase. That means excavation and placing light rail tracks and stations.
Trains will also be delivered and tested during that period. That places the tentative light rail completion at 2023. Welcome back, everybody. Your time now, 12:45. A sustainable farm in Maine is feeling the effects of President Donald Trump's recent federal funding freeze, which put on hold grants and other payments while they undergo review.
The farmers say they have not received their latest installment of a federal grant money, amounting to more than $300,000. Alex Haskell reports.
We're dedicated to creating a world where agriculture and food systems support farmer viability, thriving communities, and healthy ecosystems.
But now that mission just got harder. Here at Wolf's Neck Center for Agriculture and the Environment, Executive Director Dave Herring says the nonprofit is feeling the impact of President Trump's federal funding freeze, which the president says is necessary to get federal spending under control.
The goal for us was to have about 400 farm projects around the country.
From almond growers in California to grain farmers in the Rocky Mountains to dairy producers here in New England, Wolf's Neck has been working with farms nationwide to promote sustainable practices. That includes improving soil health, increasing biodiversity, and reducing environmental impact.
We are about 70 farms into that process.
The initiative is backed by a $35 million grant from the USDA, funding that was awarded during the Biden administration and is meant to be distributed over 5 years. But the latest installment, more than $300,000, never arrived. That's because of President Trump's executive order, which pauses federal payments for grants and other programs until they undergo review. The order states no funds shall be dispersed by a given agency until the director of OMB and assistant to the president for economic policy have determined that such disbursements are consistent with any review recommendations they have chosen to adopt.
I don't think that we have a ton of farmers out there that are out funds at this point.
But Herring says the freeze could lead to missed opportunity for farmers here in Maine and across the country.
To benefit from a program that really is designed to help them build resilience and build soil health and improve their practices so that they can have an improved bottom line and have better environmental outcomes.
As Wolf's Neck explores its next steps, Herring remains hopeful that this effort will continue, whether or not federal support is restored.
All right, a winter weather advisory has been issued for Hays and Caldwell County through tomorrow at 9 a.m. Again, this starts at 6 p.m. tonight when we begin to see some of that freezing drizzle move into our area. Here's the next 24-hour temperature-wise in Austin, going from the mid-30s, cooling down slightly, 32 by midnight. Could drop to the upper 20s for a brief period of time, and then we'll get back up into the upper 30s by tomorrow afternoon when this turns into more of a cold rain situation. High temperatures today east of I-35, mid-30s. 35 in Austin for a high, 34 in Georgetown, 33 out toward Gillespie County, as well as Lampasas County. Those winds could be gusty up to 15 miles per hour at times. High-resolution model through the rest of the day today into the evening hours around 5, 6, 7 p.m. That's when we could begin to see a little bit of light freeze and drizzle here that will continue overnight. Very hit and miss and isolated. Through the morning hours, we'll see a little bit more consistency, but watch how quickly this turns into a cold rain by the late morning into the early afternoon hours as our high temperatures go from the mid to upper 30s into Saturday evening. So I actually bumped up our freeze and rain totals for Caldwell and Hayes County, where that winter weather advisory is issued. Now up to 1/10 of an inch there. Rest of us, a few hundredths of an inch at most, 5/100ths of an inch through probably 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. So looking at these totals, I think for Caldwell and Hayes County, could see a little bit of travel delays in some slick surfaces and then light minor disruptions for the most part where it's a few hundredths of an inch. Yeah, you may feel it on the bridges and overpasses, but it's not going to be causing power outages, especially in Travis County farther north. Here's your weekend forecast. 38 on Saturday, 59 by Sunday. Could see some decrease in cloud cover through the afternoon into the evening hours to close out your weekend. And rain coverage beyond that. Things are looking nice and dry, which is fantastic news. And with the dry weather, could be seeing some 70s return to the forecast. Here's the big picture clouds and radar. Surface low clears out to the east by Sunday, and then we should be drying out. A ridge builds back in. High pressure moves from west to east, and look what happens here with this ridge. Ridge is associated with some warmer weather and some drier conditions. So hence, we're dealing with warmer than normal temps for pretty much everyone across the lower 48. To wrap up this February and kick off March, things may take a dive a little cooler for the East Coast, but for us here in Texas, I'm tracking some 70s, maybe some 80s for our southern counties, which would be on the warm side. Our normal high is 68 for this time of year. First warning weather 7-day forecast going from the 30s to the 50s and then 70s starting next Monday.
Welcome back, everybody. 18 penguins from Wonders of Wildlife, a museum and aquarium in Missouri, spent some time outdoors at a Bass Pro Shop store. And they were not going shopping. A staff member with the facility says this is good enrichment for the animals. Now, they're Gintu penguins, and this really gives them a taste of home because they are from the Antarctic, and they are used to the snow and these freezing temperatures.
I would say it's kind of a rare occurrence. We've done this. This is our third time doing this. Last year we weren't able because we didn't have a nice snow like this, but this year we were. Conditions were right. So whenever we get those in the winter, it's one of our priorities to be able to provide this additional experience.
Yeah, they are definitely more used to it than we are here in Texas. Look at them, they're so cute. Okay, for people who want an up-close and personal experience, Wonders of Wildlife actually offers a chance for you to enter their exhibit, and you can get close to the birds and really see them. So if you're ever up in Missouri for a little trip there, I think we could just
get picked up right there too.
We could just linger on these guys all day and watch them hang out in the snow. But
that's nice.
We do have to check on the weather because you're watching.
Unfortunately, sorry to ruin that for y'all. Yeah. I mean, it's not snowing on the ground like Missouri, but could see some light freezing drizzle. Just prepare for a little bit of a longer afternoon and evening commute today. This picks up overnight through tomorrow morning, and then past around 10 a.m. this becomes a cold rain. So any sort of afternoon plans, I don't even think you have to reschedule your morning plans per se. Just have a few extra minutes for the commute and just be safe on the roads. We did brine most of them, as we've talked about here on the show. Warming back up, though, to the afternoon hours, upper 30s for Saturday, upper 50s on Sunday, 74 on Monday, 77. Look at that on Tuesday. Our next front arrives next Wednesday into Thursday.
All right, thanks so much, Tommy. And you all can stay right here with us. In about 30 minutes, we'll get an update on the latest conditions, plus another look at your headlines. For now, though, enjoy your Friday afternoon and your weekend. Take care.